This story is based on actual events that occurred between 1916 and 1955, with some myths and legends mixed in. If you were to visit Phenix City, Alabama today, you wouldn't be able to tell that it was once called the original Sin City. It was one of the most dangerous towns in the South. But let's back up to the start. To begin our story, let's travel back in time and learn how the story of Phenix City began. The town began in the 19th century and was originally named Girard. The town served as a basic trading post town to Fort Benning, which is in Columbus, Georgia. Columbus is located across the Chattahoochee River and is literally minutes away. After the Civil War, one of the main sources of income for Phenix City was the illegal liquor trade that was sold across the country and created a large amount of revenue for the city. However, all of this came to a halt in 1915 when Alabama passed a prohibition law. This devastated the once booming liquor industry of Phenix City. People were beginning to lose everything, and panic began to set in. However, the members of the community decided to go against the law and started making whiskey again. Anyone who went against those who were breaking the law were beaten, robbed, had their houses destroyed, and some were even killed. However, when it came time for the courts to accuse the guilty parties, the cases never seemed to come to trial. The juries were afraid to make judgment because they were afraid that some of their property or even lives would be threatened. There were several attempts to clean up the city from the major government of Alabama, but there were still those that made sure the illegal alcohol trade would go on. The reasons for so many mistrials and tampered juries was from the corrupt officials and police officers that were receiving bribes and payoffs to keep the certain local mobsters and thugs out of the lockup, while keeping the ordinary public citizen in complete terror and panic, being tortured or even killed. Shortly afterwards, in 1931, the Great Depression hit Phenix City, and many people were without work. One man, however, managed to make a good living, earning over $10,000 simply by gambling with Fort Benning soldiers on payday. He used this money to make a gambling ring and purchase slot machines, fixed cards, and dice, and started an illegal gambling circuit that made Phenix City truly turn into Sin City. The murder, manslaughter, gambling, and selling of illegal liquor, and of course the white slavery, was so rampant that the Secretary of War, Henry L. Stinson, actually called Phenix City the wickedest city in America. At one point, several soldiers had been held captive in Phenix City because of the debts they owed because of the gambling. It was also the time when General George S. Patton was stationed at Fort Benning, and he lined Sherman tanks across the banks of Phenix City in order to threaten the city to retrieve his soldiers. Within roughly 120 years of its humble upbringing, Phenix City became as infamous and lawless as Dodge City, Kansas in the time of Wyatt Earp. There was, however, one man who tried to clean up Phenix City once and for all. His name was Albert L. Patterson, a lawyer who was born in Tallapoosa, Alabama, but ran for Attorney General and won. He vowed to clean up Phenix City, but never got the chance. Late one night on June 18, 1954, Albert Patterson was gunned down outside of his office in Phenix City by a group of gangsters that would do anything to make sure the town remained as ruthless and dangerous as it ever was. After the assassination of Patterson, the governor at the time Gordon Pearsons declared martial law in Phenix City and sent the National Guard in to enforce it. Finally, the madness had stopped. The National Guard remained there for 6 months, cleaning up the town, busting gambling rings, and confiscating all the illegal liquor. By 1955, the town had transformed and was called an all-American city. Today, Phenix City has taken many transformations, and is still in the process of being cleaned in order to match the beauty of the next door Columbus. If you were to drive in Phenix City, you would never tell that this simple small town was once one of the worst towns in the South and had such a dark past that hardly anyone ever talks about it. I've lived here all my life. I've heard so many countless stories from people who actually experienced it firsthand. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Phenix City, Alabama.